Welcome to Ty and Rye, the Finance Guys Market Mini Report, a short podcast that updates you on the past week's important topics and trends. Remember, this is not an offer to sell, and past performance does not guarantee future returns. Here are Ty Hansen and Ryan Robertson. Hello and welcome to our weekly Market Mini Report, Ty.
Market Mini, number 4.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
This is the report for week ending June 25th.
Been an interesting week.
Very good week.
It was a good week. Interesting week. Very good week. Last week I talked about the kind of the roller coaster effect, right? Like last week was the drop, right? Where your stomach comes like up into your throat and you're trying not to throw up on the guy behind you. You may pass out. That was the week before, right? Most of the market was down about 2.5% to 3%. The average this last week was up to 3.1%. So it was a good week that way.
What are the fine points, Ty? Give us the fine points.
The fine points. So really the biggest thing was we were seeing jobless claims down, right?
Yeah, right.
And home sales are declining. So that's an interesting thing. We'll actually need to talk about that in a little bit greater depth over the next few weeks or months or so as we watch what's going on in the real estate market. So anyways, new and existing home sales were down. But this recovery last week wasn't so much those factors really weren't what pushed the market. In my opinion, this was more, the previous week, the Fed had talked about inflation, freaked everybody out. Market sells off 3%. Yep. Everybody's, kind of freaking out. This was more a matter of, okay, yeah, we know there's and we've talked about this a few times, right? Where, okay, the markets, there's a scare of inflation, but there's strength in the economy, right? There's still a bedrock to this market right now where, companies are still producing a lot. We're still seeing good GDP, growth.
Real broadening of that production.
Yeah, exactly. Now, there's a little bit of fear there because there's, shortage of supply, like with lumber and things like that. But
anyways, even that's dropped 20% just in the last little bit.
Lumber came down last week. So that's more what this is that we're seeing. Okay, people are kind of coming back around. There's a little bit less fear in the market, so we saw a pretty good rebound. Cryptos are still kind of that crazy ride, right? We still saw a decline last week in cryptos. Yeah,
there's been a real on the crypto side of it. There's been a real deleveraging that's been going on. That's really what has caused this hit the peak. Now we've dropped 50%.
Yeah,
in some of the two main ones. So been deleveraged, meaning the big boys are basically just going, okay, let's
move on.
Let's get back to Let's get back to normalcy. Exactly.
So so quiet on the front of new information, really strong on the front of just it rebounded, right? Again, roller coaster dropped and now we're right back up. And so
interesting point with this, when we talk about, last year the QQQ technology really dominated the market.
Right.
We're starting to see now, because those technology companies have become such a major part of the S&P, that oftentimes their movements really affect what the S&P does.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, they make up, 5 companies make up, 20% of the volume?
Yeah, that's
something like that?
It really is so crazy how the S&P is exactly that. Like you're saying, it really is more tech than it's ever been before.
Yeah,
right?
And so you do think of inflation and how much that can affect those companies. Interest rates can affect those companies.
Yep.
So that's the interesting part. The overall economy can be really strong, but because you've got these other pressures, it's putting a lot of pressure on those companies. So
absolutely. So coming out this next week, the last part of June, early July, we are seeing we'll see some of the consumer confidence data come out. Like basically, what do we feel like as consumers? When you quantify that, how is consumer spending, things like that. So we'll next week, again, not a super big data week, but it will be interesting to see, and it's projected to still be pretty strong. So it'll be interesting to see that too. So anyways, so that's market. People loved their portfolios this last week. So and I think next week we should see a pretty similar week.
Yeah, still in a pretty good spot. All right, Ty.
Yep. All right, my friend.
Thanks for your time.
Party as
always.
See you
next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Yep. Thanks for listening to Ty and Rai, the Finance Guys. This is our weekly market mini report. New episodes of this will be put out every Monday, so make sure you don't miss those. Also, the longer podcasts, more in-depth discussions, those will drop every Saturday. So subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Ty and Rai Podcast. That way you don't miss any new episodes. Thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you have a great week.